everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Lindsay and this is Life with Lindsay. Today we have a WIP Chat. If you do not know what that is when I work on my current WIP, WIP, and you can pull out whatever it is that you are working on and work alongside with me. It could be a household chore, it can be while you're driving, while you're working, while you're avoiding doing things, whatever it is that you want to be doing. There's no right way or wrong way to WIP Chat. If you're new here, hi. My name's Lindsay. I do mainly diamond painting and some other crafting related content, and I would love for you to like, subscribe, hit the bell, hop aboard the Hot Mess Express. Let's all be friends. If you've been here before, hi, welcome back. So, I am working on a new WIP. This is Lollipop Daydream. Yes, I wanted to make sure I wasn't daydreaming, but it's Lollipop Daydream. If you would like to see the unboxing for this, I will link that up in the eye. Just a quick... I guess the elephant in the room here. This is a DIY moonshop kit. I have nothing confirmed, but this is just purely on speculation. It seems that the company has closed. If you look on their website, the domain is now available for purchase. And that doesn't really bode well. So I know that I'm working on this, and I know I'm going to list it in the description box down below, but unfortunately... not only is this not for sale, but at the time of this filming, nothing is for sale. Previously, they did have some charts available. It just seems from an outsider perspective that maybe they've been struggling. And unfortunately, I don't have any more information, but I hate working on things that aren't available. And this is like above that. This is now like, oh, I'm working from something that you can't even buy anything from the shop. So I just want to address that in case you guys have seen... I've seen a few people speculating and rumors floating around on the internet, and I'm not here to contribute to any of that, but I just wanted to point that out in case you fell in love with this image. The artist of this image does have art available at other companies, so if that's something that you are interested in, you can check out. I'll leave her information down below as well, but you can check out her social media to see where you can get her art available. So I just wanted to kind of address that and then move on. So also I would like to say that while I love this image, DIY Moonshop is not winning me over on this canvas. I will do a full post review when this is done, even though, like I said, at the time of this filming, nothing is available for purchase anymore. I know when I did my last one, I had some people say to me, like, you're not giving them a fair shot. You know, you're going into it with really negative views. And I feel like me purchasing a canvas from them was my way of saying I'm giving you a shot. And I'll go over all of this when I do, like, an actual post review and not just, like, me talking about my WIP Chat stuff. But there are so many poor symbol choices in this canvas. And I know most of you do not watch WIP Chats. You just listen to them like you would a podcast or something like that. But I'm going to get to a section where this area and this area here, where the symbols look the exact same, and they're two different symbols, that I will probably have to turn my light pad on and off a few times to figure out which one's which. So, fair warning, if that's something that irritates you, if you are watching along, that's something I'm going to get into. So, before I get into like all the nitty gritty of the fun things that happened this week, if you guys were here when I was talking about the last two dramas that I've had with my car, I'm going to touch base on that because it's going to affect pretty much every aspect of this week. So, a while ago, last year, we had noticed that our high beams did not work on our car. They only worked, as I learned, if you turn the headlights completely off and then you flash the high beams on. Otherwise they didn't work. So we had taken our car in for inspection. This is last fall, and they let us know, unfortunately, this needs to be repaired or we can't pass the car for inspection. There was nothing about the car that was unsafe, but by law they're required to have fully functioning headlights, and that's considered part of the headlights. And they sent us to Kia and said, talk to them. We talked to Kia, who acted like I was absolutely insane, and they patted themselves on the back for doing the repairs to my vehicle and sent me on my way. And I came home and I realized while I was driving that indeed they did not fix the headlights. So when I contacted them, they said, well, we fixed all of the recall issues. You know, we did all of that for you for free, which, by the way, that's what a recall issue is. Like, that's not my responsibility if the car has something recalled for it to come out of my pocket. So I go back and forth with the service manager who tells me, like, I don't understand what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. And I send him a video, and he's like, oh, yeah, that's definitely an issue. But then proceeds to give me the runaround. And I'm like, okay, I'm done wasting my time chasing this down. Like, they're not helping me. They're telling me I'm crazy. Like, all of these things. And they're refusing to help me. They're telling me my car's not covered under warranty because that's not part of the... It was a whole lot. And I was like, I don't care what's wrong with it. It just needs to be fixed because I need my car to drive around. And I can't drive it around without it passing inspection. And I can't have it pass inspection until this is resolved. See where this is going? So anyway, they basically, in a nutshell, like, don't help me and send me on my way. So I went back to my regular mechanic, and he was like, well, I'll do it, but you'll have to pay for it out of pocket because we're not Kia. And I was like, I understand. But I can't be driving around with my car out of inspection. You hope that if an officer pulls you over, that they're going to be, you know, understanding of what's going on. But, you know, that's not really something I wanted to deal with. So we got it fixed. And then a couple months later, the beginning of this year, we got a letter in the mail of a known recall issue, and wouldn't you know it, the high beams not working was now a recall issue. Now, mind you, I paid for this out of my pocket instead of having it covered, so needless to say, I was pissed. So last weekend, we noticed while driving home that our car was starting to, like, buck. And that was on a weekend. My husband contacted the mechanic on Monday, and we dropped the car off either Monday or Tuesday. And they called us back and let us know this is not good news, which, of course, you don't want to hear. If you guys hear that in the background, that's my husband. He is working with some power tools, maybe a heat gun at some point. But if you ever hear that in the background, that's all it is. Nothing exciting. I mean, it's exciting for, like, what he's doing, but not to the story. Anyway, so super long story short, we were like, well, we can't be stranded without a car. Got a rental car. And I'll go over further, like, what's going on. But that affects our week and us going places. I had to cancel swimming for this week. I had to cancel horseback riding for this week because there's really no way to get from where we need to go. Nothing is within walking distance. Everything is, like, so closely timed together. Originally, one of the days this week, Wednesday, we were scheduled for literally back-to-back swimming and then needing to immediately get in the car and go to an eye doctor appointment. So obviously that wasn't going to work. But this week, you guys, this week has been... What letter am I working on? Has been something. So I don't even remember what we did on Sunday. I think we went to Walmart for something, but I can't remember what for. So yeah, something happened Sunday. Actually, I don't know if anything really did. It might have just been like a grocery. That was Saturday. Yeah. That was last week's WIP Chat, which if you guys want to watch that, go check that out. Yeah, and it was coming back from my sister that we noticed the issue with the car, but mechanics aren't open on the weekend, so we just drove it around Sunday and then called Monday morning. I think my husband even, like, sent them a Facebook message on Sunday. Yes. So it was like, as soon as we heard the issue, we were like, all right, we don't want to mess around with this. Let's get this taken care of. Which plays an important role into what's going on with our car. So then the next day was Monday. Monday was Airway Day. So huge thank you to anyone who painted their nails light blue or who checked out the video of my daughter. If you guys would like to see that, I'll link that up in the eye again. Let me write that down. It's a medical thing, so if that's not of interest to you, I get it. But it's basically the story of, like, my daughter and all of the things we've gone through medically with her. The video is I think 2 years old now, so we're further removed from it than when it was recorded, but it's really just her story. And I figured most people watching it probably aren't watching it because they're people who follow me for my art content or crafting content, but I've been pleasantly surprised to see how many crafters have actually watched it to understand a little bit more about what she dealt with, or just to learn about an airway disorder that they had never heard about before. But also huge thank you to everybody who donated or who ordered something off the Amazon wish list or who shared the fundraisers, things like that. Little nonprofits like Coping with LM were hit hard, like really hard, by Amazon Smile discontinuing their charitable donations. It's not that big of a deal to a large nonprofit or a large charity who is getting hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars worth of donations in a year. This is a place that, like, literally every penny makes a difference. So if you do a $100 donation, that sponsors 4 care packages for 4 different families, and they're life-changing. So just, when I tell you guys that every penny counts, like, please know, like, I'm not saying that to just, like, sound spokesperson-y. Like, it really does make a difference. And so for everybody who contributed, whether it was sharing it or financially, I cannot thank you guys enough. And for the people who tagged me on Airway Day of their blue nails to show support of my daughter and her journey, I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. So again, thank you. It's funny, my daughter, I let her have my phone for a minute, and she took like 20 pictures of herself. She couldn't figure out how the selfie worked because she's used to me holding the camera facing her to take a photo of her. So she kept flipping the camera around, and I was like, no, just take it like this. And so yeah, I got a bunch of like eyeballs, tops of the heads, kneecap kind of photos. If you guys are new here, my kiddo is 5 years old. So, you know, kids are so silly. But yeah, so that was Airway Day. And then we had ice skating in the evening, followed by our seemingly now nighttime ritual is McDonald's and Arby's. Only both because I don't eat McDonald's. I don't eat hamburgers or chicken. And, I mean, listen, Arby's, I don't know why you got rid of your turkey sandwiches. You said it was for supply chain issues, and then you never brought them back. As somebody who doesn't eat 99% of your food, please bring it back. But I got myself some fries and some mozzarella sticks. So, you know, the problem is a lot of youth sports, as I've come to learn, like to, hold their youth classes around dinner time. So it's not super convenient because we either have to eat dinner super early or have dinner like way late. There's really no win, but maybe we'll figure something out a little bit better for the future. I gotta remember, babe, if you remember to remind me, I'm gonna pull the turkey and cheese like Lunchable thing closer to the front of the fridge for tomorrow.
Talking to me?
Yep. Sure was. I said, can you remind me to bring that Lunchable thing closer in the fridge? Because right now it's all the way in the back, which means it'll die there. Anyway, so my daughter has been doing the Monday night class at the one rink recently because they told us don't bring her to Tots because she's like levels ahead of what's there right now and she's really not going to learn anything. And it's been great because she definitely seems to be learning a lot more working with peers of the same level. Before it was more of like everyone's your age-ish. Now it's like everyone that skates with you is the same level set as you. But I will say there was a parent there with their child, and their child is younger than my daughter, and this child was having a very rough time. And it's interesting because I often feel like parents who see me out in public, if they see me get frustrated with my kid because I've asked her 75 times to do something, and now I'm going to yell because I'm upset, which I know I shouldn't be, but, you know, we're all human. And I try to gentle parent the best way I can. But I always tell my daughter how proud I am of the things that she does. And, you know, I build her up, even if sometimes I have trouble in the moment. And I watched as this parent very calmly kept telling their child, you suck. You're terrible at this. Why do I even waste my time? I can't believe how awful you were. Your older sibling was much better than you, which of course the older sibling is going to be better because it's a brand new skill and the kid's 2 years older than them. And I just sat there and I was like, I said to my husband, you know, it's one thing to outwardly see your child doing a terrible job and pointing out that they're doing a terrible job by like yelling and screaming and, you know, what you would think of as like a soccer parent. You know what I mean? It's another thing when you see a very mild-mannered adult just calmly look a child in the face and was like, are you proud of yourself? You are terrible. You're such an embarrassment to me. And it's like, oh my God. And I guarantee you that person is definitely revered as a quote-unquote better parent in public than I am. And I'm not to say like I'm walking around like screaming at my kid 24 hours a day, because that's not the case. But I'm also very, very honest in the fact that like as hard as I try, we all have those really hard days and those really hard moments. But to just watch this adult like belittle a child who's like 4 years old for not being able to do a skill that I guarantee you put ice skates on that parent's foot, they wouldn't be able to do it, just felt wrong. And I even tried to let them know, like when my daughter started, like it was a lot of like crying and rolling around, and we just kind of let it go and encouraged her to, you know, keep going. And one day she did, but every day she would come off the ice and go, I'm so proud of myself. So it was hard to watch this parent, because from an outsider's perspective, unless you were hearing what he was saying, you wouldn't have realized that this parent was bullying their child. You would have just thought that they were having a calm conversation with their kid. And it was like, ooh, I don't like that. Which, you know, that's even harder because most people they're not listening to what you're saying. They're listening to the tone. And that's when they go, I can't believe you would yell at your child or do this. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below on that. But anyway, we went to that. We got, like I said, she got McDonald's. Well, her and my husband got McDonald's and I got Arby's. They're down the street from each other. And this week, maybe we'll do something a little different, because we saw there was a few other restaurants, like quick restaurants nearby. Because like I'm not trying to go sit down in a restaurant afterwards. And yeah, I know I could bring something to eat in the car for her to eat afterwards. But then the problem is I'd have to also make sure I'm bringing something for us, because by the time we get home, because it's a pretty decent drive from this rink to our house, like it's bedtime. And I don't want my starving child, because she does work up an appetite when she skates like that, to just be like super, super hungry that I'm filling her up with snacks, and then she comes home and she's like, all right, I'm all done. So, anyway, we did that, and then I went into Arby's to pick up my order, and like I said to my husband, there were so many people sitting outside. There was like 4 or 5 employees sitting outside. I'm pretty sure the only person working inside was the drive-thru person, and maybe somebody at the drive-thru and somebody at the fryers. Like, I don't know how it works. I don't work there. But I walk in, and this, like, young, maybe, like, 16, 17-year-old kid comes, like, running in, and he's like, is that your order? I don't know. I think he thought maybe I was, like, a DoorDash driver or something like that. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh. He was very surprised to see me. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm going to go now. Thanks. And just walked back outside. I was like, that was awkward. But that was that. And then we had our meal in our car, and then we drove home. The next day, my husband needed to get some stuff done for work. If you guys don't know, my husband is the DaddaMonster. He does custom Funko Pops. Put my pen right in the glue. And he gets his boxes printed at Staples, and then he brings them home and he assembles them, and then, you know, packs and ships and all that stuff. So my daughter, who has been quite the bookworm, was very, very excited. I don't know if I talked about this or not, but we started going to the library like right before the pre-K ended, and they asked us if we knew about the 1,000 books before kindergarten, and I was like, no. And so what it is it's very self-explanatory. The goal is to read 1,000 books before kindergarten. That does not mean the child is to read 1,000 books on their own. It's read 1,000 books to your child before they start kindergarten. Now, this is a program that is intended to start with preschool age children. Babies, toddlers, infants, things like that. Have we read more than 1,000 books to her in her life? Absolutely. If you read the same book 100 times, it's still 100 books. So you could read her that same book every single night for a year. That's 365 books. So we only learned about this, I think, May. And we have been reading and keeping track of it. They give you a chart. The first chart is books 1 through 100, and the next one is 101 through 200, and so on and so forth. The first one, once you hit 100 on the first page, or the first booklet, you then get a bag, which we learned was literally a plastic bag. But no fear, it was still exciting. So we had hit our first 100, and we needed to return our library books that we had. And so my husband was going to drop us off at the library. We were going to take care of getting our prize, returning our books, picking out new books, and then going to play in the playroom that they have there. They have a fantastic playroom at our public library. So we go over I need to return some books and exchange or renew some books. And my daughter's new thing now is she likes these really like younger, like targeted towards younger kids, chapter books. But still, reading a book that has 100 and something pages, even if it's just intended for like 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, still takes a lot longer to read than like a Pete the Cat book. So she keeps picking out these really long chapter books, and it's fine. But obviously it's going to take longer to hit that goal because the books are longer. Not a problem. So we go, and the woman's like, oh, okay, well, over here behind us, this woman's the one in charge of the summer reading program. And I was like, oh, okay. So I go back there, and she's like, well, this isn't really the summer reading program. And I was like, all I know is that they told me to come here. So she says, oh, you're going to need to see Miss Amy. And I said, okay. She walks me back to Miss Amy, and that's when I realized that the playroom is completely closed for the next 2 hours because there is a youth program happening in there. And I'm like, so now my husband is gone. I'm with my daughter. We can't get our 100-book prize or get our next sheet. We can't play in the playroom. I was like, what am I supposed to do? Well, thankfully, they let us join the youth program that was going on. And then afterwards, we were able to get the book taken care of. But it was one of those things I was like, I would have had no idea that playroom was closed for the 2 hours that we were in the library for. And thankfully, once the program was done, they were able to close it off, clean it up, and then let her in there to actually play, which was nice. She got a chance to play. And then my husband came back and he was like, oh, well, I'll just take care of this another day. And I was like, listen, you're already there. Take care of it now. We'll make it work. And we did. But in that exact moment, I was like, what am I going to do? But it worked. And my daughter enjoyed. They read a story. They did some wiggle dance. They did some sensory play. And then they did a craft. And she was in heaven. And it's really great. I didn't know. I knew that they had like some sort of like summer program, but I never really looked super into it. I think because at that time, when I looked into it, my daughter was signed up for her TOTS, which was the same day of the week and time, and that wouldn't have worked. But now that she's skating Monday nights instead of Tuesday mornings, that changes that. Let me make sure this is the right. You guys, I got new tape for my Xyron because I needed to make labels, and here I am. I got the tape finally, and I'm just like, I've made my little labels with masking tape rounds and then put the symbol on it, but these are so hard to see, these symbols, that I just left this on my desk to use it that way. But anyway, after the playroom stuff was fun, I came home, I finished my kit from Knox. If you guys would like to see the post review for Exploring the City, I will link that one up in the eye. Let me write that down. I think that was it for Tuesday. I say that as if like that wasn't a lot of stuff. And then Wednesday, the car had been dropped off at the Kia dealership on Tuesday. And my brother-in-law brought my husband home. And this is where the fun starts. We got a phone call from Kia. I don't know what day the phone call was. It all kind of blends together.
Thursday. First phone call was Thursday.
Oh, okay. Never mind. So then we'll talk about that on Thursday. So Wednesday we decided because we didn't have an appointment at Kia till the next day, and our mechanic was like, do not drive the car other than to take it to Kia. Like, Don't even use it to just go down the road. So we were like, okay, so it sat in our driveway while we took an Uber. So we took an Uber to get my daughter her eye exam. Now, the child that was there, I would like to know, where's that child 98% of the time? Because she was amazing. Like, to the fact that the one woman working said to me, this is by far my favorite patient, not only of today, but probably of this year. My daughter's teachers had mentioned something to us towards the end of the school year that they thought she might be struggling with her vision. And like we talked about it, and I was like, I am really surprised by that because she's never complained that her eyes hurt or her head hurts. Like, we never noticed the things that they said they noticed. But with my husband wearing glasses from 2nd grade, I wore glasses from 7th grade. You know, we used to joke, like, way back in the day that when we had a child, they would have a great head of hair and terrible eyes, and here we are. So, most places don't see children under the age of 7, which I find really interesting, because there's definitely babies out there with glasses. I guess for babies, it's maybe more obvious if they have vision issues, because everything's probably coming really close to their face. Or maybe they're rubbing their eyes a lot, or I don't know. But, we go into the first room, and the woman asked me, does she know her letters? And I said, yes. I said, she knows like 98% of them. Like, every once in a while, she'll have trouble with a couple letters. But, you know, normal 5-year-old knowledge. So she does the eye exam. She's asking my daughter, like, what letter is this? And my kid, like, basically the whole time was like, I don't know, an F, and it would be like a Q. And she just kept saying to me, are you sure that she knows her letters? And I said, yes. She's like, what about numbers? Does she know her numbers? And I said, yes. And they did some numbers. And again, she questioned me, which I'm sure is making my daughter feel pretty crappy that they kept saying to her, like, don't you know this? Are you sure you know this? I thought you said she knew this, just over and over and over again. And I was just like, yes. Like, I don't know how much more clear I can make it. My child knows her letters and her numbers and whatever. And my guess, not an expert here, I don't work for a vision center. I never have. My guess is that they assume, because most people have trouble seeing far away, so they were, you know, testing for that. And I think my daughter was like really, like, the woman was almost like a decibel below yelling when she was like, you need to cover your eye and keep your head still. And I was just like, Jesus, like, lady, she's 5 years old. Like, so we left that room and they sent us back into the waiting room. And then we got called back into another room. And the woman was super, super nice. This is the woman who said that my daughter was her favorite patient ever. She had said something to me, like, the second I walked in. So she goes, your daughter definitely needs glasses. And I said, oh, really? And she said, yes, she definitely needs them. And I was like, can I ask you a question? She said, yeah, what's up? And I said, is this based off of, sorry, I was looking for a letter, off of the eye exam? Or was it, you know, they do that little machine where you, like, look at it and they measure your eyes and stuff like that? And she said, no, it was from the machine. And I was like, oh, turns out, fun fact, my daughter is farsighted, which means she can see far away, she can't see up close. So, like, people who need reading glasses, things like that. Now, as a parent, and I know I shouldn't feel this way, but I feel stupid that, how did I miss this? How did people who see her 9 hours a week notice this, but me who sees her the other hours of the week, all day, every day, didn't notice it? And I know that it's not like my child, I shouldn't say this, but I assume my child hasn't been struggling with this since the day she was born, and I've just been, like, neglecting her vision. But it still, as a parent, makes me feel terrible that I, like, missed that. So we ordered her a pair of glasses. Unfortunately for us, our kid has, like, a real peanut head, and because most kids who do get glasses have bigger faces than her, like, the little kid ones are just swimming on her. So we ordered her one pair. They should be in. They said it takes about a week and a half to 2 weeks. That was last week. So my hopes is it comes in at some point during this week. But if it doesn't, I'm hoping it comes in pretty quickly after that. But I'm also looking at getting her a second pair of glasses because she's 5. And I don't know if you guys have met 5-year-olds, but they're not the most responsible human beings. And this is a child who's never had glasses before. So, like, I don't expect her to be able to take care of them. It's funny, my mother-in-law was like, is she going to have to wear them every day? And Brian was like, yeah, Mom, she can't see anything up close. And obviously, she's not, like, blind. She just... I shouldn't say obviously, but she's not blind. She just... Sorry, I put that on the wrong color. Which now makes me wonder, did I put the... No, okay. Move on, Lindsay. If that was the wrong color, let it be the one drill in the wrong color. So, we had the Uber driver take us over to the eye place. And then across the street from the eye exam is a pizza shop, so we just walked across the street and got lunch. And my daughter is very excited to get her glasses, which is great. I think the fact that both of her parents wear glasses, like, bodes well for her, because she's not scared about them, she's not nervous about them, she's not, like, worried about them. Like, she was more worried about, like, well, what if I don't need glasses? And we kept saying to her, then you don't. Yeah, she loves to what if, which drives my husband crazier than anything else in the world. Good job, missing a whole chunk of this letter. But, I'm glad that we canceled our swim, because it would have been impossible, you know, to get from one place to the next, especially because our lesson ended, and then 30 minutes to get to our eye exam, which is 15 minutes away, which means we would have 0 time for her to, like, get changed and do all of that fun stuff. Take a sip of water real quick. But it was frustrating that, like, things had to be adjusted. So Thursday, like my husband said, he took the car over to the mechanic and then he came home. And again, we still needed to get places, but I had to cancel some things. So I took an Uber to my chiropractor because I had a chiropractor appointment. And what letter am I working on? I keep forgetting what I'm working on as I'm working on it, which is probably not great. But, so I went down there because I had already rescheduled once for this month because of whatever reason. And, I do deal with, like, regular sciatic pain. So I didn't want to, like, cancel it or push it any further. And then I walked down to Starbucks, which isn't that far. Far enough that, you know, I had to walk carefully, where there's no sidewalk, so that's fun. And I guess I'm different than a lot of people that we see walking in that area, because when other people walk in that area, we see them walking in the road. I walked in the grass. Was it comfortable? No. Was it the right thing to do? I don't know, but I didn't have to worry about getting hit by a car. Or at least I had to worry less about getting hit by a car, you know? Let's grab some more colors, shall we? I am looking for the little T, 25. I'm sure this gives people anxiety, like seeing the amount of things I have on my desk. Little B, where are you? P. I feel like if I have to look for more colors, I might have to pause you guys. Otherwise, you'll have to sit through this each time. Well, I don't really have much more to do over here other than, like, the few that I've missed. But, alright, let's grab the percentage sign. And I think that's it for now. Anyhow, H. Where's the H? That's the other one I was looking for. Beep-a-dee-boo. Beep-a-dee-boop. These symbols are killing me. I'm just telling you guys. So anyway, I have to say, my Uber driver from my house to the chiropractor, like, literally, I got in the car, I said, thanks for the ride, and then he proceeded to turn the music up incredibly loudly, and I was like, well, tell me that your Uber driver doesn't want to talk to you without telling me your Uber driver doesn't want to talk to you. Like, I don't care. Sometimes people just want to talk, and other times, like, they just, like, acknowledge you and move on, but this was a guy who just, like, didn't want to talk. And I was like, oh, cool. He's only been Ubering for 2 days. I was like, cool. If you guys didn't know, you can send your location when you're in an Uber to a safe contact. So if I ever take one without my husband, I always send him my location so he can watch where I'm at. make sure that I'm going where I'm going. Interestingly enough, he drove through the outlets to get me to my chiropractor. And I was like, why did you turn there? And he's like, that's what the map says to do. And I was like, that's weird. But who am I to judge? I mean, I am judging, but, and then the Uber driver from the Starbucks to my house was like the opposite. She didn't stop talking. She dropped me off at the wrong house. She was telling me about her kids who ice skated 30 something years ago and was going on and on and on about these brands that they were amazing. And I was like, I've literally never heard of any of these skating brands. Like, I don't even think that they exist anymore. But she just, like, I kept saying to her, like, oh, it's the first oh, okay, never mind. And then I was like, you can stop, you can stop, you can stop. She took me to a house down the street, not even on our street. And I was just like, okay, bye. The windows were down, no air conditioning. I was like dying. I was like, it's 93 degrees. And I get it. Maybe she doesn't have air conditioning, or maybe it costs too much money for her to run AC all day long. But I feel like you have your two schools of Uber drivers. The ones that are like, I want you to be comfortable and I want to be comfortable. And here's the air conditioned blast as high as it possibly can be. And the other ones that are like, nah, fam. We're going to drive around all day with our windows down. Even if you don't like it. And that was that. So, we did that. And then in the evening, I took my daughter to ice skating. Again, had to take an Uber there and an Uber back. That day was so many Ubers. It's just Ubering here, Ubering there. And it was one of those things that, because we knew the car was going into the shop, we wanted to wait to get a car rental till A, we heard what was going on, and B, to see if the insurance would be willing to cover any of it, because sometimes they do cover car rentals for long-term maintenance, repairs, and things like that. So, the car goes into the shop, and our mechanic tells us, like, your car, like, the engine could literally blow up. The cylinders are backfiring, and you're having failures. It could be one of them. It could be all of them. We really don't know until we get in there. But we don't want to get in there if Kia will take it, because this is something that's covered under Kia's warranty. So we take it over to Kia. My husband, God bless him, was dealing with Kia, the mechanic, the insurance company, back and forth, and the car rental. No, I dealt with the car rental. Back and forth. And it was such a pain in the ass. So basically, Kia, keep in mind, they tried to blame us for the issues with the headlights, telling we were crazy, there was nothing wrong with the car, blah, 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 blah. So they tried telling us that this repair isn't going to happen because we were negligent owners to our car. And my husband's like, why, frustrated, but he's like, okay, explain to me why you came to that conclusion. So they tell us that the oil in our tank is sludge, which is impossible unless there's something going on, because we got the oil change not that long ago. And like, were we a little behind on an oil change? Sure. I mean, that's
miles.
How many?
500.
500 miles. Okay. So, it's not something that doesn't happen to a lot of people. Life. And they basically tell us that because of that, they will not do the repairs. They will not cover them. And we know now that if we take it back to our mechanic, we're looking at up to $10,000 worth of repairs, which at that point, a car that's 4 years old that needs that much maintenance, like, you don't want to sink that much money into a car. It's a 2020. So anyone out there who has a Kia Telluride, just keep your eyes peeled, because all of a sudden, all of these issues started happening 3 years into owning it. Anyway, so super long story short, my husband calls the insurance company, who then says, well, no, you have extended warranty coverage through us. And my husband says, oh, so then they have to launch an investigation, and they have to get all of the records. So we have records of when our car was last inspected, the oil change, all the paperwork from all of the stuff with the headlight issue. Like, we have all of this documented. And it was sent to Kia, and the insurance company sent out an insurance adjuster and all of these things. And then basically, the next day, we get a phone call that says, your car's ready to be picked up. We did an oil change and flushed everything out, and you're good to go. Which, great. So, we go to pick up the car, which I'm kind of out of order on days here, but it doesn't really matter anymore. We go to pick up the car because they tell us on Friday that we could pick up the car Saturday. Well, they told us we could pick it up Friday, but we were already out and not able to get back to town before they close. So they tell us that the car is ready and we could pick it up Saturday. They're open from this time to this time. So, long story short, my husband and I go to the Kia dealership to pick up our car, to which the salesperson's like, well, service department's closed. And he's like, oh, I was told I could pick up my car. And they said, yeah, you can pick up your car. My husband and I are both on the same page. We feel like, how is it possible that one person, damn it, is telling us your car is going to need up to $10,000 in repairs, and another person is telling us, well, we did an oil change and that resolved all the problems. I feel like something amiss is going on here, and I don't know whether it's with the mechanic or with the car dealership. I have a feeling it's the car dealership because the mechanic has never steered us in the wrong direction, and they've never taken advantage of us. In fact, they actually go out of their way to be super helpful with us. But at the same token, my husband and I wanted the car hooked up to the machine that runs to tell you, what should be lit up on your dashboard, what's been cleared, what's been resolved, things like that. And they were like, well, we can't do that. Service isn't here today. So we're like, well, then we're not taking the car home because there's nobody here to discuss it with. In case we take the car home and it starts bucking again, what's the next step? Because I'm not going to take it and claim responsibility for it. And then all of a sudden they go, well, you took it off the lot. This is on you now. So our car is still sitting in the Kia dealership because we have to wait for them to reopen and then get back over there. So we still have our car rental, which, we were going to keep the car rental for an extra day after getting the car anyway, for the simple fact that in case something happened, we already had it. And then once we felt comfortable, we would return it. So it's super, super frustrating. We still have no resolution. I can't help but to think that there's more than just that going on. But my question is, if it was such a big deal about the oil change and the oil was that bad, shouldn't a light have come on my dashboard to say that I needed an oil change? I get a notification anytime I hit a certain amount of miles on my tank of, do you need to know where the closest gas station is? No, I'm good. Thank you. But for this, they definitely... nothing came on, and apparently while it was in the bay, it came on that it needed an oil change, and we were like, but it didn't have it when it was at the mechanics 24 hours earlier, so you can't say that we were driving around with the oil change light on and ignoring it, or the check engine light and ignoring it, because none of that is true. So now it's a fun fight, and it's cool. I just want my car back. But then we also have to make the executive decision of, is it worth hanging on to this car, knowing how much we've had to put in terms of time and money for repairs already for our 2020 vehicle, or is it worth trying to trade it in towards something else? The problem is, we're still at that time where there are a lot of cars that are still very difficult to get a hold of. I'm not opposed to getting a used vehicle, but it just sucks knowing that I have this nice car that basically is just falling apart on me. And it's not a lemon, because lemon stuff, it has to be within the first 6 months or something. First year. And this is now, it'll be 4 years in August that I've owned this car. And I'm not done paying it off. I don't want to start picking up a second car payment. It's a lot, and it's frustrating, and it's draining, and I'm just over it. But it has to be resolved, because we only have one car at the moment. And, it's tough if my daughter needs to be one place and I need to be a different place, because we can't be in two places at once. Ooh, I almost just spilled that. Don't do that, Lindsay. Did I just put the right color on? Yeah, I think so. So that's what's going on with the car. That's been super fun. So Friday, what am I working on? V. Any more of that? I don't think so. So Friday, we have another busy-ish day, and I went back and forth The ice skating that we had earlier in the week, the group lessons, those are already prepaid. I pay for the whole session at once, and then I go from there. And the thing that sucks is, like, so our group lessons, like I said, those are prepaid. Our private lessons, we pay on the spot for them. But also, I hate canceling on her coach unless it's something like we absolutely have to. And I'm very, very thankful that she is not somebody who, like, requires 24 hours notice, or she'll charge you for the lesson anyway, or whatever it may be. It's not like we're her only lesson and, you know, we're inconveniencing her. She's got a lesson before us and after us, so it's like she's already there, which is great, you know. But sorry, I got a definite frog in my throat right now. Let's see. Let's grab the colors I need. I know I just said I wasn't going to do this, but here I am. Here I am now. Entertain me. 7 and a 4, 7 and a 4, 7 and a 4. You'd think that 7 and 4 would be 7 and 4, but indeed they're not. They're 19 and 20. There is a J. Do I need a J? Where's the J? Tell me where the J is. J, J, J. J is 6. These are just like ones that I have like 1 or 2 of. Alright, I'm going to pause you guys real quick so I can get what I need. Okay, sorry guys. I thought it would be easier to just do it that way than to keep having to, like, let me see what I'm looking for. Because I don't have that much left in this section, so. But anywho, I don't even know where I was at this point. So, Friday, we took my kiddo skating. At this point, we had our rental car, so that was super helpful. And that's why I didn't cancel, because I was like, okay, we can make this work. We can get the rental. We can drive where we need to. We can do what we need to. And, like, I feel much better about it. So we did. And then afterwards, she was super ready to eat. So at one point, my daughter is now asking for more time. For the kids that are 6 and under, they're allowed to do a 30-minute ice time. Anybody over 6 has to do an hour of ice time. Like, they don't have to be on the ice for an hour, but that's the minimum amount of ice time you can purchase, which is fine, you know, if you're skating for an hour. But my kiddo's been asking, she wants to skate more. She wants more free time. And I explained to her, like, if you decide to stay 5 minutes after your lesson, like, I still have to pay for the next 30 minutes of ice time. And she acts like she understands, but, like, I'm not sure that she really does. And that's okay. Like, I'm not mad at that. I just don't want to be wasteful for no reason. I mean, I don't want to be wasteful at all. But, so we decided to let her have 15 minutes and then a 30-minute lesson and then 15 minutes afterwards. So she's out there. She's skating away. And one of the coaches, which I think it might have been her coach, actually said to her, like, move out of the way. So there is, like, a hierarchy of people who get, like, right of way when it comes to skating during freestyle. People working on their routines get number 1. People in lessons get number 2. And then everybody else is below that. You're supposed to look out for the little kids, which is fine. But this was also another little kid, and she was working on a routine, and Briar just went right towards where she was. The only thing that really bothers me about her wanting more ice time is that I always feel like during freestyle in particular, not so much during, you know, public skate, but during freestyle, I don't think she fully understands, like, the lay of the law, and that's a lot of responsibility to put on the shoulders of a 5-year-old. But I also don't want to pay her coach to, like, more than what I already am paying her. You know, like, I don't want to, like, it's not her job to babysit my kid on the ice when her lesson is over. And that's where it, like, starts to get frustrating. And I want her to be safe, but I want her to be able to practice her moves. So she was having a really hard time, and she was like, I'm done. I don't want to. And her coach was like, I need you to bribe her. And I was like, with what? And she's like, I don't care. Anything. She needs to get back out on the ice, because once her coach told her to move out of the way, she shut down. She thought she was in trouble, and that was not the case, but it was in her head, well, now it's over. What's the point? And it was really hard to, like, persuade her to get back out there. I was like, I know you can do this. She did not want to do it, but she did eventually, and that was because I promised her we would get ice cream after ice skating. Now listen, her lesson is 3:45 to 4:15. Why? Why did I think ice cream directly after ice skating was a great idea? Puts you right before dinner time, and it's a super awkward time of day. I didn't think about it. I just panicked when she said that. I mean, I could have been like, I'll take you to Five Below. And that would have just been like, here's one thing from Five Below. And, you know, it worked. Got her back out there. And then she did really well during her lesson. But it was just like, this is not what I signed up for today. You know what I mean? And so afterwards, we decided, well, let's go get dinner. So we did. We went and got Mexican. We haven't had Mexican in ages. And it was the best it's been in a while. Like, it really has gone downhill in terms of, like, quality. And, like, seems like they hired a bunch more wait staff, which is beneficial for, obviously, everybody involved. Okay. I know you're out here, letters. But where did you go? This is the problem with having 700 colors out on your desk at once. B. Alright, let's put you back. I don't know where you went right now. Where's the A? Does anybody know where I put the A? Right here. I'm still going to need to get more letters, but that's okay. We're going to turn the light pad off in a minute here. I only got a few more minutes anyway. So let's get this. This is quite frustrating, and let's hope that I can figure out the difference with the light pad off. It's really not super helpful. Is it slightly more helpful? I guess, but not really. Like, I don't know. I feel like you shouldn't put two symbols next to each other that look the same, especially with the same color, but also, like, the clarity of this particular symbol is awful. It's just awful. But anyway, so after ice skating, we went and got Mexican food. We went and got our ice cream. I treated her. I let her have something that did have dye in it because it was a special occasion. This is not easy, you guys. Alright, get out of my way. But she loved it, and she just gobbled up every minute of it. Oh. I already had a drill on here. I don't understand how people can function without a light pad. I'm literally, like, doing, like, a handful of drills, and I'm like, my eyes, I'm melting. Like, I feel like this is probably what the Wicked Witch feels like when water is happening to her. But it was funny. There was a sticker on somebody's bumper in the Mexican restaurant's parking lot, and I recognized it as the region of Mexico, the state that my friend lives in, and I took a picture of it, and I sent it to her. She's like, go tell him that you have a friend that lives there. And I was like, I don't know who it belongs to. I just wanted to, you know, I was like, I was hoping that I didn't mix up the areas. She's like, no, I'm proud of you. So, thanks. The next day, as I mentioned, was Saturday, and that's when we went to go pick up the car and the whole fiasco, and it was like, it was such a nightmare. I understand the sales guy, it doesn't affect him either way, whether we pick up the car or we don't pick up the car. It's frustrating knowing that my car is allegedly ready and we can't confirm that, because we need to make sure, like, what kind of guarantee are you going to give us for us driving this car off the lot? Because all it takes is for you guys to click a button and say, well, now it's all fixed. But and this is one of the conversations my husband had with the insurance company of, well, if the oil was that bad, if it was truly that awful, then why didn't the sensor go off? And that should be another red flag, because if there was a sensor issue, that needs to be addressed as well. But it's just, the whole thing is like such a mess. And I know it's frustrating me. It's frustrating my husband. It's frustrating my daughter, because I have to keep putting her in and out of the car. We have a rider safe travel vest. If you are somebody who has small children, I think like 3 and up, it can be used for kids that are booster ready as well. But it is really, really, it's a vest. It's basically, I'm going to turn the lights back on. In the sense that a booster is something that elevates a child so that they can be raised up to the seatbelt. That's what the point of a booster is. This does the same thing, but the opposite. It actually lowers the seat belt so that it is like a wearable vest, booster vest. And it can be worn for kids who are like, maybe you can't fit 3 across in your car, or for kids who have outgrown the limitations of a car seat but aren't big enough or old enough for a booster. We bought it initially for travel, like in Ubers when we go to Baltimore and things like that. So this has been a godsend for us, that we don't have to install and uninstall the car seat every time we have to go in an Uber or anywhere. And so right now in the rental, it's installed in the rental. And when I say it's installed, like it literally is a vest and you just put the seatbelt through it. We have ours connected to the top tether so it stays put, and it gives us a little added, protection of her not being able to reach all over the car. But for those who are interested, I highly recommend them. They are not cheap, but they are well worth it if you are a family that travels or a family that uses public transportation often, or you just have like more difficult seating situation in your car. So we did that, and then that leads us. Oh, and we also, we picked up some glasses from a local mom who, she's like, you can pick up some frames that I have my kid outgrew, because we're just trying to find the right size that fits her face. But also, if I have a pair of frames, now all I have to do is go pay for lenses. But then we decided, you know what, let's go have a nice dinner. And my daughter, I said, what do you want for dinner? And I know there are some people that are going to hear this and be like, your kid is spoiled. Say what you will. But I think really what it is she has expensive taste. And I also have that similar taste, but I'm a grown-up. So she wanted to go to the crab place and get crabs. And we have not been in a while, which is accurate. And I was all for, let's go get crabs. And then I was like, you know what? Crab Fest is happening at Red Lobster. This is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form. Red Lobster has no idea who I am or that I even exist. So I looked into it and I was like, okay, when I do the crab place, I do the one that I get, and then I add a half pound of crabs for my daughter. This, I could get a full pound of crabs for about the same price as adding on, and it comes with other stuff. So I ended up ordering her own plate at Crab Fest, and she ate every single bite. This is a 5-year-old child who ate an entire pound of crab. Now, I will say, one of the reasons I'm hesitant to do crabs with her frequently is because she does not know how to break apart crab legs or anything like that. And that means that I have to continuously break hers apart. Not a big deal. But by the time I'm done breaking her crab apart, she's already done before I've even had a chance to take my first bite. So I don't ever get to like sit and enjoy because I have to scarf down whatever food I have, because you can only entertain a small child for so long when they're done. And God forbid, like she sits and waits. If I sit there and I go, okay, I'm going to do some of yours and some of mine, she'll literally be like, well, mommy, can I have some of your crab? No, girl, calm down. So I did that. It was really good. I enjoyed it. I would have liked to have been able to like sit and enjoy it a little bit more. But it is what it is. Today we had a real lazy day, so that was super fun. But I think this is a really good place to leave you guys. I'm almost done this little section, and then I have a couple more letters that I've missed. I am, in terms of the image, I am at the lollipop. Here is the lollipop right here. You can see. So, I'll be halfway done, I guess, at the end of today. And I will do a post review on this. I still have one more unboxing to share with you guys. Now I'm like, is it worth sharing it? I don't know. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you made it all the way to the end, leave me a lollipop. That's it. That's all I got. I hope that you guys like this. If you do like this and you'd like to see more content like this or nothing like this at all, please make sure to give this video 2 thumbs up. 1 real life, 1 virtual. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Come join the Sparkle Squad. While you're there, hit that notification bell. I do not operate on any sort of schedule. I operate on toddler standard time, and I record when my tiny human is sleeping or sleeping. Thank you guys so much for being here. See you in my next one. Bye, guys.